Hi, and welcome to another episode of Nursing Your Way to Wealth, where a mental health nurse and an accountant talk about wealth creation, personal development, and financial independence in the UK to help you live the life you deserve.
Hi, and welcome back. This is episode 74, which Alex and I have called Money Motivations. So, the idea for this was just born from an idea that accountant Alex had about just things that we've both either tried ourselves or we've read about or we've heard of, just to make like playing this money game a little bit easier, a little bit less boring, to inject a little bit of fun into something like that. It's going to follow the same kind of structure. We'll do a return on heartbeats, then the main body will be around money motivations. We'll conclude two reasonable or ridiculouses and add a third, and then we'll do a quick summary. But Alex, initially for the intro, this week I've been reading or listening to a book called The Short History of Economics by a politician, Australian politician called Andrew Lee. It's really good. It's like a sort of similar to how Morgan Housel writes about stories about money. So I find it really engaging, and it's not like a deep, boring finance book. It kind of puts the stories in things that you actually enjoy. And one of the nice things about it is he talks about historical forms of money and how much value it brings. So one of the big examples in the beginning of the book is how much work it takes to develop an hour of light in a home. And way back when it would be firewood. So it's finding wood, cutting wood, burning wood, having light, and it would take like hundreds of hours to produce the same amount of light as a 60-watt light bulb has. That you've probably got a few of in your house, and I do as well. And it tells you about how it goes through those stages. So all the way back then is hundreds of hours worth, and it would be one of your main things to do is to create light and heat at that point. And now we have electric lights, and people can read all hours of the day, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we've got a lot smarter as a population. But now it's something like less than a second worth of earnings for you to run a light bulb for an hour. So it's the difference in progress over those hundreds or possibly thousands of years. So yeah, I really rate the book.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I think, yeah, that sounds familiar. I don't know if I may have read it. Okay, do they also talk about the efficiency of like oil production? And it's almost like not necessarily how much gets out of the ground, but it's how efficient we are at using that oil. So then it actually, there's been so many improvements of using fuel that actually it's able to last a lot longer. Something along those lines, anyway.
Yeah, like it's much more efficient. That's possible. Let me have a quick look at when it was written. It was written, release date 3rd of September. That's today, weirdly, 2024. So a year ago.
Oh, I haven't read it then.
I was going to say it could be you've read it and I've not got to that part yet.
No, I think no, I've not read that in the last year. Oh no, that sounds interesting. And I think where it's more of like a storytelling thing, like rather than textbook style. I think it's definitely a lot more engaging
Absolutely. It's not academic and it's not kind of
and more digestible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. You don't have to take thousands of notes for every 2 pages that you read. It's Here's a
Yes.
short story about how we've made light so much cheaper.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really enjoy it. I'm a little bit through at the moment via Audible. I've got 4 hours to go, and it's 5 hours, 5 and a bit hours long. So I've read about an hour of it so far. Yeah, so I'd add it to your list. So it's The Shortest History of Economics by Andrew Lee. Also, to be fair, the Damien Talks Money podcast with him is amazing as well. So if you want a shorter version of that, that's a really good place to go.
Brilliant. Thank you for the tip.
You're welcome. Yeah, and I'll pass to you, I think, for return on heartbeats for this week. So you've visited somewhere fancy for free, basically, I heard.
We did, yes. So over the weekend, we got a free voucher through the Martin Lewis website, actually, for the National Trust property. So this was you get a free voucher for up to four, like two adults and two children, to visit a National Trust property. And so me and my wife went to a place called Polesden Lacey, which is in Surrey. a really enjoyable day. So I think it was about would have been £18 per person plus £4 parking, but because of the voucher, we just paid for the parking. And interestingly, the house, the history of the house the McEwan's Lager Company, who were based out in up in Scotland. It was his daughter's wedding present was the house, and she lived in between Mayfair and this house, and this was her weekend entertaining house, sat in acres and acres of land, stunning rooms, would entertain a lot of royalty, and it was, yeah, really fascinating. There were some volunteers there who knew a lot about the house, and so we spent some time listening to some talks and tours. So really recommend it. Really interesting, and yeah, the fact it was free was also super. Yeah, so good return on heartbeats for that. So Paulsden Lacey, that is.
Yeah, in Surrey, yeah, part of National Trust. My wife and I have done a similar thing to a National Trust property in Kent. We got a free voucher and we were like, this can't be real. And we flashed it at the gate and they were like, yeah, fine, park here. And it was really good. I actually really enjoyed it. I'm not a National Trust member. We do have English heritage. But yeah, I just find it funny that this is a weekend house for
Yes.
entertaining when actually it's a ridiculous, extravagant display of how much money somebody has that they have all of that and they just use it at weekends.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it was like fully staffed, everything up and running.
yeah,
So she was given that house,
as a wedding
yeah,
gift.
as a wedding present from her dad. And then this was back in like the late 1800s. And then when he died, he left all of his money to her, and it was the equivalent of about £150 million in today's money that she had.
Wow.
And her job, she was a socialite basically, uh, traveled the world and had lots of parties. So the
That's an
extreme
envy.
version of Phi.
Yeah, just handed down. That's an enviable life, right? Well, maybe if you're just used to it, is it? Yeah. Do you enjoy it for that long? Who knows? I'll probably enjoy it for a year and then get hedonic treadmill back to baseline, and it becomes your normal again. Um, yeah, no, I really rate those kind of National Trust English heritage places for like a fairly cheap day out.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're a member of them, yeah. Yeah, on Saturday morning while you were there, probably on if it's a Saturday, I was cutting down a cherry tree at my sister-in-law's house that had died, and she had a quote from like a tree person, and they were like, "It's not a big job, but it would mean I'm not going somewhere else and earning more money, so I'll have to charge you quite a lot for it." And I was like, "I can just do that, no worries." And yeah, she made me a cup of tea, so I was very happy with that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's good. Good return on heartbeats.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, kept all my limbs as well, and it was actually quite good fun. Yeah, being outdoors. Just a small caveat. Just because I've said cutting down trees is fun, don't do it. It's very dangerous. Chainsaws are absolutely no joke. You can very easily lose a limb. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Who knows? Oh well. I trust that people are clever enough to not cut
Yes,
their own limbs off with a chainsaw.
that's it.
Okay,
We hope.
pivot to money motivations then. You and I have been doing this kind of journey for like separately, and after we formed the pod a bit together for the last, I don't know, 10 maybe or so years, maybe a bit longer. Um, it can be quite a slog kind of going through like the process. Like I remember when I first learned about being financially independent, I had this huge rush of motivation. I did all these things, made all these changes, started looking at life, kind of from a different lens. And then you kind of get stuck in the middle, which
Mhm.
is where your life happens. So in terms of keeping your motivation, like what's kind of some stuff you've thought about as you continue? Because we always say you don't want to forget to do life in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, there's like the big motivation is the freedom that you get, and it's the choice. And that's always I always think of when I wake up on a Monday morning and having the option not to do what I want and not have to go on a long commute into an office and work, that's for me is the motivation. That for me is my North Star, the thing that I always hold up kind of in my mind's eye when I'm going on this, because it can get a bit monotonous. And it's like the fact that it is boring, it probably means that you're doing it right and that it's just about saving. Um, but I listened to a couple of podcasts over the course of the week, and there were some really interesting like little games and little like savings challenges that I heard about, which I thought I'd bring up as, and they're probably more for if you're either like getting started on this journey, or if you're wanting to form a habit of saving, or maybe you've got children and or young relatives or young friends that you want to who want to start saving. These kind of little games I thought were quite helpful as a to kind of gamify it a little bit. And so I've got a couple that I thought I'd bring up, and it's quite surprising actually how much you end up saving. So these are kind of designed to be done over the course of 12 months, a little bit like with New Year's resolution type things. So the first game is it's called the 1p challenge, and although I'm not big on social media, apparently this is quite big on TikTok. But this is where you save on the first day of the year you save a penny, second day you save 2p, the third day you save 3p, and so on and so on, all the way through to day 365. And so by itself, the individual contributions aren't going to make you well off, and it can be a bit of a headache to transfer a penny into a different account. But the point being, you develop a habit, and at the end of the year, if you were to have done that, um, you'd have saved up £667.95, which I think is a decent amount of money. And for the kind of build, but the main thing for me is that you've built the habit, and so you're then used to saving. So this is maybe more of a, if you're starting off working in, or like starting off in a new job or something, and like in the world of work, and you're just getting used to having a bit more money, a little challenge like this almost can force you to save a little bit of money. So the idea is, this is going to go into a cash account, and then you do with it what you will when you get to the end. But or you in the meantime you could film it and maybe get millions of followers on TikTok. You know how crazy the world can be. But I don't know if you've heard of that little challenge, Alex, or if you think, yeah, what your thoughts are on it. But I thought it was quite a nice, quirky little thing.
Yeah, I mean, like having 600, nearly 670 quid, you probably round it up to, I don't know, 670 at the end of the time or whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not a lot to save per day each time. So you're probably not going to miss it. I mean, the biggest transfer, right, is £3.65 right at the end of the year.
Yes,
So
exactly. Yeah.
you can buy anything outside the house that costs more than that. So it's not likely to be noticeable. But if you collate it all together, like £667 is quite a lot of money, like to have in what if you imagine that in notes and coins on your table in front of you, that's quite a lot to
Yeah.
hold. So it could be a way of saving for, I don't know, Christmas presents for your family, perhaps, or
Yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah, towards a holiday. I mean, you'd have a bit less if you had to start spending it in December, right? You'd have 11 months of it, and you'd lose some of the punchy end of doing £3 a day or something. Or you can do it backwards. Start at £3.65 and go the other way, so you have more of it at the end. But it can get you through something like that. And we've talked before about people going into debt over Christmas and New Year.
Yes.
So you could use something like that to avoid that. I might have read it a long time ago. It's not something I've ever done. I don't know if you can automate transfers of like 1p today, 2p tomorrow, 3p the next day. I think.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an app or something for it, but
yeah, maybe the banking system's a bit archaic in that kind of pattern. But I think it's the habit and the process, isn't it? And we're back to like James Clear's atomic habits: make it easy, make it accessible. I mean, you could do it in 2 minutes from your sofa, couldn't you, with your smartphone or laptop?
Yeah.
It's not like you got to go to the bank with a book and have them stamp it.
Exactly. It's not 1965.
No, exactly. So it can be done, and it just I would think about something you're going to do with the money to keep you focused on it. So, are you going to use it for Christmas? Are you going to use it to go, I don't know, on holiday in January when the weather sucks? You could do that. That would probably buy you a week or two away somewhere, um, if you spend it wisely. But I think it's if you have an idea for something you're going to use that money for, you're much more likely to stay the course and actually finish the challenge. And
Yeah, I
if you can do
agree.
that, you can complete that challenge, set yourself something else that's a bit harder, and prove to yourself that you can do these things that are difficult.
That's it. And I think that there was a couple of others which were that I learned about, which I thought were also all on the same vein. They're not going to like make you crazy well off, but another one was like saving between Monday and Friday. So on a Monday you'd save £1, on Tuesday you'd save £2, Wednesday £3, Thursday £4, Friday £5. And so you're saving £15 across the week, and then assuming you do that across every 52 weeks of the year, you'll have like, yeah, 780 quid. So again, it's not like loads. You kind of have the weekend off, and then when you're at work, you're paying for yourself. In in and of itself is not a large amount of money. Um, and then but at the end it starts to grow and get nearly £800, which again, I think Christmas is a great shout, or doing something for, yeah, January to treat yourself, or even if it is just to have that cushion of I want to have, it might be £1,000 saved up in the Access account to give me a bit of breathing room. This is like a nice way of doing it. Or it could be you've got I was going to say credit card debt to pay off, but ideally you want to pay that off directly unless you're getting a crazy good interest rate. Um, and then, but I thought that was quite, again, like a bit of a novel way of keeping it a little bit entertained. And if you did that and you've worked for 5 years, you've got nearly £4,000 saved up just from a daily habit of saving between £1 and £5 when you're at work.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, 4 grand will buy you a car. It'll buy you a very nice holiday. It will
yeah,
get you something tangible, won't it? And it doesn't sound a lot. 2 quid on a Tuesday, 4 quid on a Thursday,
yeah,
and it's again the habit, but also I was thinking, like, say you're young and you run a car and you've got insurance, tax, MOT, or
hmm,
something. You could put it towards that. You're
yeah,
always going to have these bills, and it's just another way of take that final amount, divide by 12, and put it in your savings account. But I think it's just more of a it's I think it's more accessible to people because it feels less restrictive. I think because it's
yeah,
part of a game of actually I've done last week, therefore I'll do this week, and you don't see that at the end of your like you get paid at the end of the month or the start of the month or whatever, and then you see minus £200 or something
mm,
for car bills. You're going to be like, oh, I wish I could keep that 200. Whereas if you're doing it small and often, it feels less. Um, I think it feels less restrictive, and it's less like, oh, I could do something else with that money. Like you can't go to the pub with 4 quid, or you could, but it's not going to be as good as going with 200. So it
yeah.
feels easier to get done. I think.
I agree. Yeah, yeah. So I quite like that one. And yeah, the last one I heard, which I thought was also quite a funny one, is, well, if you're trying to build up a rainy day fund, you give yourself a certain amount of money that every time it rains, then you put it into that account. So it could be £1, it could be a fiver, it could be 10. And so every time it rains outside, you put it into your emergency fund. So then you build up your rainy day fund over time when it is raining outside. But I thought that was quite again, bit of a novel way of. It depends on where you live in the country. If you live in the Outer Hebrides, you might be
Yeah,
bankrupt by the end of it. But
Wales.
or Wales, yeah. Um, but again, I just thought it was quite a novel, nice way of making, like, gamifying the savings a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I think it takes the decision out of your brain, doesn't it? It's like I've decided
yes.
to do this. It's raining,
Oh,
therefore I owe future me a fiver.
it's a bit like a swear box or something in the office. Not that they exist anymore, but yeah, having yeah, oh, I need, yeah, exactly. Oh, it's raining. I'll give myself put £5 into the my rainy day fund.
Yeah, and you're not having to decide actually actively, I've got £5 in my pocket, or I've got £5 here. Do I go and buy a latte or do I save it? It's
Yeah,
because it's rained, you therefore do the action. It's decided for you. And if we link that back to like James Clear's book on atomic habits,
yes,
it's make it easy, make it simple, make it automatic or something like that. It's not verbatim, but if you
yeah,
if you automate it, you're more likely to stick to it, and you're more likely to achieve a meaningful sum at the end of the year. I think those games are great, especially like could
yeah,
work for adults, could work for children as well to get them into saving. If you're starting to give your kids pocket money as well, um, and then if you are
yeah,
kind of on this path and you are well off as you're going, you could say to your kids like, whatever you save at the end of the year, I'll match it, or I'll give you 50% again. I'll give you half as much again towards your savings. So to incentivize saving and being
mm,
intentional with the pocket money you give them. Obviously, not everybody will be able to do that, but it's just another idea. Um,
yeah. I think it's a really good point. Um, on that on the motivation. And it's like if you were to one other thing which we mentioned just before we were hit record was just around the roundup function if in your bank account can be quite valuable. So if you spend heavily on like a debit card, often there's and I don't know if all the banks do it. I know certainly I used to use Chase and that did it. You
yeah,
would
Lloyd's that I have now do it as well.
Yeah, and I think you just select the option and then it just saves the rounds up the difference between up to the nearest pound into a savings account for you. If you spend like your coffee's £4.75, 25p would go into your um, bank account, into your savings account. And the idea being is that it's like removing any friction between you and the decision. It's just, well, I've selected that option and it's going to start building up some money for me. Um, you're then not having to make that conscious choice at the time. So yeah, I'm a big fan of things like this. Um, one just to help with the motivation, and others it's just simplicity of the decision and gets yourself out of your own way. So yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of it is about getting out of your own head, isn't it?
yeah,
Like as we've said before, if you if you have some spare money, for example, you're fortunate enough to have some spare money, thinking about what you could do with it, the possibilities for that are absolutely endless. And with adverts and marketing, etc., you are super primed to think, oh, I saw that thing last week. I've got this much money. I could buy that and it will solve this problem in my life. But actually, saving the money is, in our opinion, probably a good thing to be, yeah, a good thing to be doing. Um, yeah, no, I like it. I like when I do things like that. I just thinking about something that I found like a bit weird that I do with money. Like I don't like savings accounts or something like that to have like non-round numbers in them. So
oh
when
yeah,
you
I
you have
feel
like
you.
a you have like a savings account or whatever, and it pays you some percent per year, and you have like an annual interest payment, and you get like something 0.83 pence. I'm like,
Yes,
yeah, I hate it. No, absolutely not. So what I would then do is initially I would round that up to the nearest £10. And so if I had like £101.83, I would put the £8 whatever in to make it up to 110. So it's a nice round figure. So I try to do that. And obviously with my main checking and debit account, if that's not doable, I just have random like point decimals in there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
for my savings accounts, I like them to all end in like a zero. And I don't know if that's weird. Is that just me? But it's just something I've always done, and I've always rounded it up rather than remove money out.
Yeah, that's a good. I'm similar. I have to be honest. I'm a little bit. Uh, I quite like having round numbers
Yeah,
um in my accounts, and yeah. So where I can, I will just round it up to either the pound or to the that put like £8.13 in or whatever it is to get to your nearest 10. And then it obviously changes then the next month when you get your monthly interest payment, £2.78 or whatever it is. Um,
yeah, but it's just another method of not forced savings, but I think it just helps. Like
Yeah,
over many years, you'll be far richer off. You could have easily spent it. And actually, last week
yeah.
I read a Reddit post on one of the finance boards who was like, I've hit £100,000 in my ISA or something, or my pension and ISA combined. And then the person was like, oh, I was at 99,800 and something and something.
Oh,
So I worked out how much I would need to transfer. I sent that in, so I would have like a 6-figure account now.
nice.
And they put a screenshot of it, and I was like, actually, that's really motivating.
It is, yeah. I can see that, getting to that next threshold. You almost want to just, yeah. So I think anything that forces you to kind of get to forcing is maybe the wrong word, but just
Like
encourages you to,
incentive.
so yeah. And as you said, that guy could probably find 120 quid or something to put in there to then round it up again. And then,
Yeah, or he could spend it on a round
or
of drinks for 8 of his mates.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, or a car tire, or I don't know, a semi-fancy dinner, something like that. And as well, if you think about it, just thinking about getting to milestones like that, I'm a huge advocate of celebrating milestones. So if you've
Yes.
gone from like zero savings to having £1,000 as an
Mhm.
emergency fund, save wait a little bit more, save 1,050, and then spend that 50 quid buying yourself and your partner dinner. Like, do
Yes.
something to celebrate it. Don't just think, actually, there's just a one time goal. All I have to do is this and that. And I can only save money. I can never spend money. Like, you guys, Alex and I included, we work really hard for what we have. We make intentional decisions. So I really want people to, I mean, celebrate it with an eye on costs. Like, if you've saved £1,000, don't spend £900 on dinner
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, don't celebrate that hard, but save like a nominal, like spend a nominal amount that's not going to move the needle. That actually is, you're still going to be protected with that kind of
Yeah.
money that you've saved. But do celebrate it, otherwise it becomes a little bit kind of drudgery. Um, and I
Yeah.
think
I agree
I'm
completely with
fairly
that.
close. Yeah. I'm fairly close to my next kind of ISA milestone. And I'll probably take my wife and I for dinner somewhere. Like, there's a really good pub that does a great Sunday roast locally to us, and it's probably going to be maybe £60, something like that, which is it's less than 0.1% of my net worth at that point.
Mm.
So it's not going to move the needle either, and we'll get a great lunch out of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think celebrating the success is really important along the way because it isn't just about, optimizing absolutely everything and, you know, again, having a life of drudgery. Like, and completely agree. Don't go and if you've just managed to build up a grand in your emergency fund, don't go and buy £1,000 handbag. But
Yeah,
like,
no.
but it's like, yeah, actually go and do an experience because you'll remember that. It'll last a lot longer. And or buy something that you really want that isn't going to break your bank. But every time you look at it, you're then reminded of your achievement. And I think that in itself is also really motivating. And similar, yeah, I'm nearly there with my next ISA milestone, which I'll probably max it out next month. And then
Nice.
that's then like a cause for celebration.
Good, but do celebrate it. Yeah, I mean, we're saying like if you're starting on the journey and you've saved £1,000, don't spend it all on something. But for example, if you're midway through or you're the other end, and say you hit, I don't know, £1 million in your across your net worth or something like that, and you're close to retirement, and you want a bag that's £1,000 or 5 grand,
Yes.
absolutely buy it. If you
Yeah.
think you'll get value from it, 100%, you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you really kind of if that's kind of your I was going to say if that's your bag, right? I'm talking about bags, but if that is no pun intended, but it's just happened. But if that's something you like and you get value from it, then do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like, but make it a small part of your percentage of your net worth, and actually do the maths, work it out.
Yes.
Um,
I'm a big fan of
yeah.
that metric.
Oh yeah, I call it man maths, right? So partially it's how many times will I use the item to make it worth, I don't know, pence or pounds per use, or how much of it as a percentage of what I have is this figure. And it'll tell you what to do with it. If it's uncomfortable, then you wouldn't do it. If you're comfortable with it, then do it. Yeah. Have you ever bought anything extravagant for reaching a money milestone?
And I did buy a watch. I bought two watches. One when I qualified as a chartered accountant, and another one when I finished and did my chartered treasury qualification. They were quite
Nice.
expensive. Um,
Do you wear them?
I do, yeah, all the time,
Oh, okay.
and
So you wear them every day?
I do, not both at the
Yeah.
same time.
No, of course, that'd be weird.
But yeah, there's something I get a lot of value from them. But yeah, they
Yeah.
were in hindsight probably not the right thing to do. But
I mean, has it has it negatively impacted your wealth journey, your wealth building?
no, definitely not.
You wear it
So
every day. It looks nice. It probably feels nice, and it would be a really good reminder that actually you worked really hard to be a chartered accountant.
yes, and I think
Yeah,
that's kind of it. That's what I see when I look at it.
yeah,
So it reminds me of those times. So it definitely does have a purpose.
yeah, definitely. And I think that's what we're doing is building purposeful life. Like we don't do these things for no reason. Like we've really thought about what we want to get out of it and how we can live a good life in not the environment. That's probably not the like in the economic environment that we're in. Like a lot of people our age will have to probably give up on the dream that our life will be as easy as people like financially easy as like people have had it in the past. Um, but that's just it's kind of the cards you're dealt. We also have a lot more things in life that other people don't have. Like it's very obvious if you show, say, an older person, a grandparent, for example, something to do with virtual reality or the latest smartphone tech. They're just like, what is this? And we have all of that at the palm of our hands. And it only gets more and more kind of extravagant as we go. Yeah, is there anything else, Alex, thinking about kind of money motivations that you've heard of or read?
No, I think those were the ones which came up over the last week, which I thought were worth sharing with the listeners because I thought they were quite novel, a little bit different, and yeah, why not give them a try? I think you can save a decent amount of money by doing them, and yeah, I think the points that we raised around definitely celebrating success and milestones is really important.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to bring before we do a reasonable or ridiculous kind of roundup and a summary is I read this thing the other day about financial decision making and whether, and really, it can be factored into any decision in life. Is this decision, is it going to lead you to a place of peace or pressure? And I kind of like those are opposites, but they both begin with P and they're alliterative, and I like them. But if you think about it from a financial point of view, for example, is signing up to this subscription per month, is that going to bring you peace or is it going to add pressure to your life? And I think it's helpful in rationalizing, when you get swept up in the, oh, everyone's got this thing, everyone's got that thing, will it bring you to a place of peace or will it take you away from that and will it add pressure to your life? And I think I'm going to try and remember to use that in some decision making that I do because I think it's applicable to money, other decisions in life, kind of jobs, especially houses, cars, loads of things that have financial elements. Is which way is it going to send you?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it because a lot of this, and I think you often know with your gut feeling, it tells you like how you're going to feel about it in the future and whether you think it's a mistake or not. But there's a lot of pressure to comply and conform, isn't there, with certain things? And it's like if you don't need a new phone, don't go and spend 1,500 quid on the latest iPhone. If you're
Yeah, all of your emergency fund that you took 2 years to save.
exactly, but yeah, I think that's a nice. It's another lens to look through, isn't it? To
I think so. And the idea, I think, one of the core ideas behind us putting these ideas together and out into the world is to build a peaceful life and a sense of financial peace. So to be able to weather storms that life brings you, and really to act in ways that they're kind of measured because you're not panicking because actually you have your financial life, your financial house is mostly sorted. And to be honest, a lot of things can be solved with liberally applying money to stuff. There obviously are limits to it, but I would rather be on the peace side of it than the pressured side of it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I might do a little bit more on the impact of peace within the body and then pressure within the body, just from a kind of a stress adrenaline hormone point of view, because actually those impact your ability to make rational decisions as well. So yeah, I might do a bit more like depth.
Yeah, I think that would be it'd be
Um,
an interesting
yeah,
episode.
on each of those and how it impacts your brain and body. Yeah. Okay, let's move to
reasonable or ridiculous.
so update on your Just Park renting parking spaces.
Yes, so last week we were looking at whether it was reasonable or ridiculous to rent out my car parking space. So I then went and did a bit more research into that, and definitely is not worth the money for what they would predict that we would be able to rent our car parking space for. So the car park at the train station is actually pretty reasonable, and yeah, it would be about £30 a month. They would expect that we'd be able to earn, which is just not worth the headache, especially when um, we're in a very small little cul-de-sac of of four houses, and all apart from me and my wife are all retired and like to spend time looking out the window and monitoring the car park and anything else that happens. So we figured it wasn't worth the headache, and yeah, it wasn't worth the money. So we decided against that in the end. But that was to conclude my reasonable or ridiculous from last week.
The potential hassle of living in the middle of a neighbourhood watch.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it's tossing up, isn't it, whether it's worth your time and energy or not. Like, if it's 30 quid a month times 12 and you're getting £360 a year, that to someone who struggles to pay for Christmas every year and goes into debt could be the difference between having debt in January and not. For someone like you who's very kind of moneyly astute with money, then it probably wouldn't make a difference. But there would have been a time in your life that actually that would have been really helpful. Yeah, so apply it to your own situation. Yeah. So for my side of reasonable or ridiculous, fairly recently we talked about me having a friend of mine have some clothes made for me in Italy out of linen, because it was far cheaper than buying them in the UK for the same product. I've had those made and delivered, and they're great. They fit me really well, and I'm exceptionally happy with the quality of each item. So I like now knowing all of that, it's very reasonable. So my question to you, Alex, for this week for reasonable or ridiculous is it worth spending a little extra money and having your clothes, say you buy some clothes from any kind of store, wherever it is, in person, online, whatever, is it worth spending a little bit more and having those clothes tailored to suit your body type?
That's an interesting one because I've had a couple. I used to have to wear. I guess my answer in short is probably it depends on what it is. I think if it's an
Uh-huh.
expensive garment in the first place, say for example a suit or
Mm.
like shirts or trousers, maybe, then I think that I think could be reasonable. And I used to have to wear suits quite a lot for work, and I would get my suits not necessarily tailored, but you get the yeah tailored like where it wouldn't be a tailored suit; it would be an off-the-shelf suit, but then a tailor would like take it in and lengthen, make the trousers a bit tighter or wider or whatever. And that I thought was a very good, like very reasonable thing to do. Um, if you are just wearing like a plain white t-shirt, I don't see there's a huge amount of value in getting that tailor-made. Um, but yeah, I think it can do in circumstances.
Yeah, I think it depends on your environment. If you're working and you're expected to look a certain way and give off a professional look, and you need to look good, and it helps with like networking or sales or whatever, then yeah, I think because I've been doing a little bit of that. I've been buying good quality clothes quite cheaply on like eBay or Vinted that were like way too long for me or something. So the other like couple of weeks ago, I bought a pair of like woolen trousers that were way too long for my leg length, but they fit me very well in the waist. So I just said, look, to a tailoring lady that I know now, can you take these up? And she was like, yeah, it'll be £9. And I was like, all right, that's ideal. I'll happily pay that to get a good fitting pair of trousers. And it worked out to be, I think the trousers would have been about 90 quid new. So it's about 10% off the purchase price. So that's the kind of metric I give myself. Sometimes if I really like it, I'll go up to 15% of what it would have cost me. So I think I paid
I think that's a really good idea, you know. I never even crossed my mind.
Yeah, it just helps with decisions.
Yeah.
Really helps with decisions, because I bought these trousers for something like, I think there's like £22 or something delivered to my door, and another £9 also to have them tailored. And what would have been £90, I've spent what, 31, which is a third of their cost, and they fit me really well.
Yeah, and I think especially like buying clothes which, you know, if the waist fits but the trousers are long, it's very easy to adjust them. I think I always just think, well, what's my size, and I'll buy that. I never think about it the other way. So, well, I've learned something and a skill that I'm going to give that a try.
Yeah, I think it's helpful, because like sometimes you can always make trousers shorter, you can't make them longer.
Yes.
So I always buy them for like people who are 6'4" or taller, because there's not much of a market for that, and just have the tailor cut the end off and hem it. Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, that is my reasonable or ridiculous. I think it's reasonable. Like, I'm not going to do that for a poor quality item. So if it's something that's made of good materials, kind of cotton, linen, wool, something like that, then I would do it. I'm not going to do it for like a pair of polyester shorts or something.
Yes, I think that's completely reasonable.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to do a summary or me?
Yes, I can do a summary. So the main things today. So we kicked off with a return on heartbeat. So I went to a really nice National Trust property called Pulls and Lacey, and would recommend it if you're ever in the Surrey area. The book that you suggested at the top of the podcast, The Short History of Economics, sounds like a really good read, and so we'll definitely give that a try. We then went on to discussing some quirky little games and things around keeping your motivation up around money and saving. So a couple of those were, so one was saving the penny challenge. So this is where you save a penny a day, every day of the year for 365 days. And then you would end up with a total value of £668. An alternative on that would be the Monday to Friday game. This is where you spend £1 on a Monday, £2 on a Tuesday, etc., up to Friday. Do that for 52 weeks and you'll have £780. Saving into a rainy day fund every time it rains is another little game you can play with yourself. And there's also the roundup functionality on some of those bank accounts, which are really helpful. And all of these are just about building habits, getting out of your own way, and taking the decision out of saving money. And the other thing was around a different way of looking at money decisions, was around, is it going to cause peace or pressure to your life? And that Alex is going to do a bit more of a detailed episode on the physical things that peace and pressure do to your body. And reasonable or ridiculous, it was ridiculous in the end to rent out my car parking space. Very reasonable to buy imported tailored clothes for Alex, and I think it's reasonable in some cases to get your clothes tailored. So I think that is everything covered, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, absolutely covered as always. I'm always impressed how you can do this without writing anything down. It's really good. I think the only other thing we'll do is put a link to the book by Andrew Lee, The Short History of Economics, in the kind of description thing below. We'll get Caspian to do that. But thank you, my friend, for your time, and we'll chat next week.
Yes, thank you, and thanks everybody for listening.
None of what we discuss on the show is to be considered financial or health advice, and we recommend you always do your own research or consult an independent financial advisor or a doctor when making your financial or health decisions.